You're listening to Daughter Father Dance Podcast. Hi, Daddy.
I approve.
That's not proof to me they exist. That's just proof that you believe they exist.
Prayer, first of all, it's easy. Secondly, it's effective.
The God you love so much made me this way.
Hey, listen.
That's
Well,
my
believe
point.
is what you believe.
I know, but okay, so what I'm saying is...
Amen.
Oh, gosh. Welcome back. We have a very fun show for you this week. It is layered with just a few more voices. Today, Dad and I talk about how our household had quite a few traditions that enriched our lives. We're also visited by the other characters in our happy half-dozen family, where every memory is recalled through the lens of 6 different perspectives. Now, for those of you who don't know the Happy Half Dozen reference, this was the CB handle Dad created for the 6 of us as we road tripped on our way to summer vacations from Missouri to Colorado or Texas. Us kids would laugh as Dad conversed with the truckers on the road and would say things like, 10-4, good buddy. The Happy Half Dozen is trailing behind you and preparing to pass you in our family wagon. Will you please give these kids a loud and long blare of your horn before they drive me and Joycey crazy from boredom? The backseat was filled with little voices and laughter as we tried to talk over one another to suggest what else Dad should say to the trucker we were all making faces at out the back window. In this episode, Dad and I explore the traditions that brought connection and consistency to our family, and made for some pretty fun memories that, if you ask my girlfriend or my sister-in-law, we like to rehash way too often. For you as a child, having grown up in an orphanage, what does tradition mean to you? Like, is it something special? Was it something that you wanted for us as kids?
I didn't think that tradition was something, I never thought of passing on tradition to you as something that I had to do.
Mm.
Tradition is something that developed as our lives together evolved. Be honest with you, I really didn't think about tradition until the film Fiddler on the Roof came out with the character Tevye.
Yep.
And Tevye sings a song about tradition, and you being Yentl, his wife.
What Dad means here is Tevye's wife, Golda, not Yentl. Well, I think it's cool that it was organic for you, right? It wasn't something, you necessarily set out to do as, I'm going to be a father that instills tradition in my children. It was more just an organic unfolding, which is kind of the epitome of you, Dad. You just kind of show up in the moment, and just in who you are and how creative you are in a moment, you created some of the most memorable traditions for the 4 of us kids. Your creative in-the-moment ingenuity has been something really fun for us kids to experience, because you do things and then suddenly we wanted to do them all the time, so it became tradition. Are there any traditions that for you as a father were really gratifying?
Well, if I start to reminisce, anything special, I would say that just our life lived daily was what was special. I cherished being together as a family.
Well, let's talk about one specific one, because I think this is one either you or Mom came up with, and it's not, unique to us, because I know other families that engage in this, but at one point in our lives, and it was when Julie and I were a little bit older, not like older, but maybe even like, preteen, you initiated family nights, you or Mom, I don't know who. Those were sacred, like, nobody could interrupt them. You couldn't have, that was a no conflict, non-negotiable night.
I think family night evolved because we wanted that time to be special, just us. No work that took us outside of the home, or sporting events, or neighbors, or other events going on. We were going to be together and enjoy each other's company. Food and games and popcorn, fudge, and Family night was a night that we really didn't watch TV. We looked and watched each other and listened to each other and played games together, and we would eat together. And family night was something that all of us enjoyed it.
I think Jared enjoyed it the most, but we definitely all enjoyed it. He downplays it now, but you'd said something cool, Dad, that family nights were a time for us to enjoy one another and not a vice like television. Although we did have a tradition of Friday nights being, like you said, popcorn fudge and Friday Fright Night and night gallery and
having each other just near and hearing each other. I still feel that way when I talk to you, your voice, Julie's voice, Jared, Jason's voice. That's the special for me because I feel closer and connected to my family, which is a treasure. That, the best thing on earth is the family.
Well, and I think, it's not an accident that we're talking about family night as one of the first traditions that we threw out because our lives revolved around family. I used to work for a company that the whole family I worked for would say, whatever you need, family first. And that's one of the things I loved about that family because they got it, right? Like that's not a tagline or a saying that we had growing up, but that's the way we lived. It was family was always first. And that was the 6 of us, but it was also extended out into our greater Arthur and Relihan families. Family came before anything other than maybe God. Because I always saw family and God as one thing, because God was just kind of a part of the family. Can we talk about just your creative ingenuity that I mentioned earlier? We Two Kings. I think it's one of the funniest and one of the best examples of how in the moment you can be with your creativity. Where in the heck did you come up with that? You just one day thought of, let's do Epiphany this way?
I'm not sure how it happened. That just could be acting on the spur of the moment, which is fairly common for me. And your mom, being as gracious as she is, she goes along with a lot of my spontaneity.
Spontaneity, a new word.
The fact that we were going to celebrate Epiphany, I think I wanted to make it an experience for you children that would be something you would remember. So, Epiphany in the old days was an actual time where you exchange gifts, and the acting out of the kings from the east coming to Jerusalem to pay homage to the King of Kings. I think I just wanted to make that most memorable for you. And your mom and I, we would have to use what we had as costumes, like turning our robes around backwards and maybe putting garland or ribbon in your hair, singing that song as you children waited in the darkness downstairs as a star that had the light of a flashlight shining on it. I would sing the song, "We Two Kings Have Traveled Afar."
Dad, that was one of the funniest parts of it because do you remember this happened every year? And so however many years, I might have been 18 by the last time I experienced it. But let's say, I was 5 and Julie was 4 to 18. Okay, so for 13 years, you would say different lyrics every year. And this is what was so genius about it, was you were the epitome of improvisational acting. Because you would start with the melody, "We Two Kings of Orient are," of Independence are. You'd change all the words to be apropos for the family, and then you would say something mostly quippy and embarrassing, mostly about all 4 of us. So it was very familial themed as well, and that's what was so hysterical that we all enjoyed. But also, when we got to our teenage years, we didn't know what the hell you were going to say. As a child, one of our favorite things, not only just listened to Mom try to muffle her laughter because she was about to pee her pants laughing, but was also you and what you were going to come up with in your lyrics.
Well, that's called Blarney. It's also the gift of gab.
Yep.
And I would just come up with lyrics just off the top of my head. I didn't think about it. I just started adding words to the melody and made it personal for as much of you as I could and come up with it. And your mom would just laugh because I just come up with something at the spur of the moment, and she would just be, where did he come up with that?
You
Something like
still amaze her in that way. Like I watch her face with just being home recently and listening to the podcast with her after it had dropped, and just watching her look at you just with, where did you come up with that? And that's another thing, like even these and another thing I've written about being your impromptu Mother's Day celebrations at church, or your reenactment of the nativity scene with all the little baby preschoolers, and everybody knows you are going to ad-lib this entire thing based on what those little kids, who obviously are unpredictable, based on what they're going to come up with or what they're going to accidentally do or how they're going to wander away. And that narration of that went beyond our own family tradition. That tradition rippled out into an entire parish. They came to hear what Jean Arthur was going to just in the moment come up with.
Well, you can thank your mother for that, because she was the one that got me to narrate the Christmas pageant and also got me to be the master of ceremonies. Actually, I did it for 30 years because she wanted to make it fun, and she knew that I might have been able to do something to pull that off for her. So she's great, as you know, when we get together now for different kinds of bingos.
Heck yeah.
We got bingos for a lot of different things, and they're all centered around the family.
Well, every single bingo question is around a character or a person, and usually the person that we're celebrating. Well, speaking of, that's a tradition that didn't happen as kids. The evolution of Mom's kind of creative bingo thing was that we'd go on these trips and she'd make crossword puzzles about it and hand it out to everybody, and whoever got them all right got a prize. Or then it evolved to bingo, and now the grandkids even look forward to it.
Oh, we got bingo? Oh my god, that's the best picture of you. Look at that.
Good old grandma's bingo.
What are you teaching him? This is amazing. I didn't know the truth.
What Jared was on Julie's 5th birthday.
Oh, I know what that is.
Born.
Well, damn it, Jared, you're not supposed to say it.
Next.
What was the first one? Good game, Mom.
Way to go, Joy Santa. Good job, Joycey.
Yep, my mom. It would take an entire other episode to convey all she's done for her children and grandchildren. You had originally talked about how tradition kind of became conscious for you when you saw Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof was your segue into understanding tradition. And I can imagine, because as a kid, you didn't probably have a lot of them in the orphanage and the boys' home, and then living with grandma who was working. But what's interesting about that musical is it's rooted in tradition. And if you'll remember, Tevye had to come face to face with tradition crumbling a bit. Havila wanted to move away and marry someone outside of the Jewish faith, and Zeidel, I can't remember, I might be getting those two wrong, but even as he had to leave his village and all of that stuff, tradition was the thing that held his family together. Now, there's a lot of nuances, like I said, that he had to kind of let go of some of the traditions because he had children that were looking in a different direction and moving in making their own tradition, which I guess every father probably faces on some level. Can you speak to that in any way about tradition having to be uprooted and it looking different, and how that might feel to a father who champions that tradition connection with his family?
As a father, when things change, maybe would be a challenge for tradition changing or taking on a different look. But then that has to just go with, so what? It changes, but then a different one develops. It just changed a little bit or shifted somewhere a little bit, but you can find good in a different tradition, and you can find good in the sadness and the joy of an old tradition changing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think when you were talking, it made me kind of think about that topic we had on beliefs, that it's hard to have anything really hard-lined because something could upend it for good reason. Tevye had to face the fact that his kids fell in love with people that he necessarily would not have had the matchmaker make for them. At some point, tradition, I see it this similarly as I do belief. I think that it enriches our lives to a point until it becomes limiting. And I'm not going to go down that road because I know that was hilarious. We were trying to figure out limiting and expansive. But I think you could see tradition similarly. It's so beautiful and enriching, and I would not change any of the traditions we had. And yet, there are moments when they have to disappear or people don't want to do them anymore.
If tradition changes, don't fall apart, get all broken up over it. You just accept it and then look for the good in it and trust that things will be fine.
Yeah. Well, I think like I know you've had to see, even in you speak of your faith often. You've had to watch even some of your own kids and grandkids walk away from a tradition of the church, right? Like the tradition of the sacraments, the tradition of practicing. And I know that, like Tevye, that's probably been hard for you.
Well, that's true. But then that's where you have to trust. You have to put your trust in something other than yourself, your feelings. Love is not just feelings. It's an act of the will. It's something that you commit to, regardless of the storms or the war that may be raging. So that's just part of life.
Mm. Are there any traditions that you want to talk specifically about other than the We Two Kings?
Well, I have a lot of traditions that I go through before I do certain things. First of all is morning prayer.
Yep.
That is something that I have to do because I think I'm compulsive. Talking about it, I'm thinking of all kinds of stuff. Some of it might be shit to other people out there listening, but it's tradition for us, and I hold it sacred.
Well, I think that's what is so cool about tradition, right? There's something sacred about it. Tradition isn't just for the sake of tradition. It's because it reminds us or because it brings forth a feeling of connection and sacredness to whatever it is that tradition is founded in. That's what I love about it. I love that there's a consistency in tradition, right? It's like being able to go home to my family house that I grew up in, that I was born in, and that I can return to. Like that consistency, that familiarity, there's something grounding about that. And so I believe that for me, and I can't speak for my siblings, but I bet money on it, that the traditions that you and Mom created have fortified something in us.
Tradition.
Exactly. Did you want to belt it out? Give us a Tevye moment?
Tradition. Would it be so bad?
That was like Tevye and the Godfather combo.
It was. Well, that was Tevye praying to God. Would it be so bad to be rich?
Oh, yeah.
To have more cows, to have more food. It's a good show. I recommend Fiddler on the Roof for anybody. Even if you don't like musicals, it's fun.
Agreed. I bought a vinyl album, a really great copy of the soundtrack from Kate Doré on one of the vinyl groups that I follow, and I cherish that because it is every single inch of that soundtrack is a memory that I cherish. That and sadly, I don't know that there's an accomplishment that I feel as good about than that.
Hey, I just thought of another tradition.
What?
As a family get-together.
What?
One of the hallmarks of it, the St. Patrick Day Parade.
Hell yeah. We can't forget that tradition. We could talk all day about that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, stay tuned because St. Patrick's Day will be here before you know it.
St. Patrick's Day Parade?
Yeah, that's like the queen mother of all traditions for us.
Oh, let me tell you, that's like I told you, you might even had it in a podcast. I don't know why the nuns at St. Aloysius Grade School in Kansas City, Missouri, chose your dad as a young boy just newly enrolled in that school to be McNamara in the St. Patrick's Day play. And I had a solo leading role singing that song and dancing on the stage.
Well, Dad, I didn't tell that story in the podcast, but remember when you sang it when we were recording in the early days of our recordings, and it's on
Oh, yeah.
it's on the one that's dedicated to your upbringing.
Our average tradition has been pretty much an annual
Oh yeah. Except
thing.
for the years where we were kicked out after we got in trouble for, having alcohol on a dry parade. That's been an every year occurrence. And remember when we were younger, Dad, you would take us out of school. We would get that day off. That wasn't a holiday for our Catholic schools, but it was for the Arthur kids. We would
Yep.
ride the float, but before we did any of that, we went to early morning mass, like dawn at 6 a.m. at St. Mary's Cathedral downtown. And then we go down to Westport and have breakfast at Kelly's. And then we would go to the parade and freeze all day.
Sounds like a grand time.
It was the best. And then now the tradition has gotten even longer, where we go to Aunt Becky and Uncle Steve's for meat pies. The second time annually we get to eat our Listowel family traditional pies. Listowel is a town in the County Kerry, where my mother's family is from. Meat pies, that's going to have to be a whole episode of its own. It is one of our most cherished traditions.
And then after the parade, the time between the end of the parade and meat pies at the Relihan house, we would visit a pub or two where your cousin Benjamin Tobias Ruth might have been playing.
Exactly.
We made it a full day.
Yeah, we definitely try to get the most out of our traditions. Well, Dad, this has been fun, and I love you, and I'm so sorry about Jumanji. My dad's friend Jumanji died since our last episode. And though my father celebrates the liberation of souls from the body, a person's spirit taking flight to its next adventure, if you will, I know Dad misses him already. As for me, I had hoped Jumanji and I could finally sit together and get to know each other so we could bury a bitter issue and finally find the love between us. And I was secretly hoping to share the podcast episode where we talked about him and be able to address him by his new Jumanji nickname. Fly free, Jumanji. Your presence in this world shall not be forgotten. Now, to shift the mood back to the joy of traditions, please join us, the happy half dozen, over Chinese carryout for a trip down memory lane.
We got out of the dock and we went out and went by Goat Hill, and that brought back memories about where Janae and Julie left you and your brother on the Goat Hill while they went boat riding, and they run out of gas, and you all had to get home on your own.
It wasn't intentional.
But my favorite part is that they swam. We looked how far that was
That's
from
freaking
Goat Hill
far.
to the yacht club.
We didn't have life jackets either.
I think I had to.
How old were
I think
you?
like halfway through, I thought I was gonna die, and I told you my life secrets and stuff.
I don't remember anything that special, but it was rough.
But remember, these are kids.
Yeah,
they
no
were
shit.
like little
Babies.
babies.
I was probably preteen.
You might have been
Was that
12.
I was
You were-
like
you were
12-ish.
young. And then you had to walk home on the hot pavement.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have shoes
I
on.
remember. Oh, that sucked.
I'm so sorry,
sorry.
guys.
Were
We
you
felt
bad?
awful. I remember we thought,
Oh,
where
yeah.
are they? We were scared. I thought they're drowned.
But you went out and ate lunch.
What
What do you mean? You guys were having lunch when we got back. What do you?
I don't think
You weren't
so.
scared.
We walked into a house full of people that weren't thinking about us.
They were just sitting there eating. Oh, we're gonna come get you guys. Well, you don't need to now. We're home. The swim was way worse than the walk.
Yeah, the walk was only about 2 miles.
I mean, halfway across, it's like, well, we can't turn back now, so we
Yeah, it
got.
was scary.
But 2
We're gonna
miles
get
without any
drowned, or-
shoes and it's hot pavement in the middle of
Yeah,
summer.
we
that
could
must
step
have
off
been-
in the grass here and there.
But we had just
The walk
survived
sucked
a
ass, but-
marathon swim. So
Yeah, the swimming. We weren't like
buoyed.
swimmers. We're just regular
I'm telling you,
guys.
there's a purpose to everybody in this room to be on the planet because all of us had our opportunities to
I've been
die.
like,
We were
okay, if I just keep my mouth a little bit above the water for a while.
I think,
I can
yeah, I
rest.
think you kind of coached me on how to rest.
Just rest a little bit. Just keep your mouth up.
Most dangerous.
That was bad. Why did we
Is there-
decide?
have you been
Why did
forgotten
we
a
decide?
lot?
Why didn't we just wait longer? I don't know why I
We
decided.
waited for like hours. At least 2 hours.
It was a while because we had to get towed.
We didn't have
Where were
lunch,
you told to?
obviously.
Well, yeah, we robbed.
And then for some reason come up to the house.
All the way at the. They weren't down at the lake. Up at the house having
You
food.
were in the house. while their young brothers were God knows where. I think you were. You were doing.
You were having
hanging out
lunch with
too.
him. You guys were. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this story's.
We went
been-
back. We got gas and we drove back over there and you weren't there.
Oh, okay. So that's why
so we
you were
knew
back.
you weren't on Goat Hill.
What the hell did
like-
you think we were?
Well, we figured you. Jeanette would like, did they swim across? I go, I don't know if Jason
Bottom
could
of the
make
lake.
it. I'm afraid Jason couldn't make it that far, and so we went back home. But we went back to Goat Hill to get you after we got gas.
That's new. I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, of course we did. We didn't just go home and leave you there all day
Yeah, we got towed over to the marina.
and got
But
gas.
you guys
Still doesn't
weren't
add up,
there. And then
Okay,
we left.
So why wasn't there a panic?
I was upset. I go, Janae goes, oh, they probably swam over and walked home. I go, Jason can't make it that far. That's far. And you're like, well, let's
Why
just
not?
go see
Why
if they're
just
home.
Jason? Why could I make it?
You were
if he
older. Jason was like a baby. Jason was not even double digits, I don't think.
No, he
He
was
was maybe
little.
9.
couldn't? Yeah, I was probably early.
Because you were in college.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably a senior. But remember, we also
I didn't
went
know I was
over.
that young. That's pretty scary.
We drove the boat over. Someone was pulling a skier, and the skier had fallen, so they were kind of sitting idle. But their rope was still way out, and we went right across it and cut it.
We chopped it. Yeah. We were horrible.
Same
Shouldn't have been
trip.
that close to a boat at all.
Same trip. I was like, I think we just cut their boat. We didn't know what we were doing. We should not have been on the boat alone.
Julie and I would remember that
As
old boat,
teenagers.
the wind, whatever that was,
That
that
red
everybody
one,
loved.
Mark
Twain.
Twain.
The Mark Twain, and it would take flight. We'd be airborne, and then
And
we'd
we'd be
smack
laughing.
down
And
on
we'd be
the
sitting
hull,
on the
and we'd be
top
like,
of the seats going, ha 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 ha. We weren't even down in the seat. We were like flying up and almost falling out. That's how stupid we were. Nobody should have let us.
We
be
didn't
on
know
that
how to
boat.
hit waves a certain way. Like we just, it's a miracle we didn't pass.
Well, I think the guy whose rope we cut yet was yelling at us. Like,
I
well,
hope
I
he
think we
was.
just.
He was too close to my boat, for one thing.
Jared, Jason, can you remember coming home to the lake house in the old style before the fire, right? Who was all there? Was it all
It was
the
a lot of
uncles
You
and
people.
talking about the same time when we got
Yeah, when we got
abandoned?
stranded.
There was a lot of people there.
Yeah, it was like a holiday. And I don't know. I picture everybody sitting. So to answer
Are you
your
mad at
question,
Janae and I and every one of them?
Yeah, I think so. No, I have memories of people. I'm definitely mad at you guys when I remember that day. But I remember the swim and the walk and seeing everybody and thinking, what the fuck? You guys are sitting here?
See, this is how I
That's-
remember it.
That's the only.
I
great
remember
memory of
Janae
that.
and I coming up the stairs. Jason was sitting on Mom's lap crying because his feet burned from walking back. And I go, we went over to get you. And you told us then, you never came. We had to swim across and walk back. And I felt terrible. That's what I remember. That, you know that chair Grandma Mary always sat in? It's not the couch. It was the chair at the end of the couch by the desk. Yeah. Sorry. But Grandma Mary sat in it too when she would come out. She'd always sit in that real firm, it was like a throne-looking chair.
Yeah, it's still there in the front.
After Grandpa
After
was dead.
Grandpa died, yeah.
And Jason was sitting on Mom's lap, leaning against her and crying. And I'm like, I go, what's wrong? And he was like, she said, his feet are burnt. You were real mad.
I don't even remember.
And we had just come in the house. I swear to God, we weren't sitting there eating lunch. I guarantee
Well, the
it.
memory I have is that's exactly it. You guys are like, oh, hey guys, and just sitting eating.
No.
So that's not what was going on. But that's what's in my head.
No,
They
because
were
I remember
just like-
feeling really
and me
tired.
and
I
Jason
was
are
just
like,
glad they weren't dead.
I'm holding Jason, and he's like, his head's laying back and bleeding. Oh my God. That's my memory. I don't know.
No, I remember feeling so relieved and so awful at the same time. Like, oh, thank God they're not drowned. But we really messed up.
So I'm sure the truth is somewhere in between those two.
What do you remember?
I don't have.
You were driving.
I remember feeling horrible, but I don't remember eating.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't
I
eating
think I
lunch.
might have
think,
thrown that in over the years.
I think we were
Doesn't
trying to
sound
figure
like
out
it.
how to find you. Like we were like, well, they have to be walking
Makes for a
home.
way better
or-
We
story.
came
You
back
were
to
worried
see
they were
if they
dead.
were home, and then they were, and Jason was, his feet were burnt. Not funny. And Mom
I
was
don't
real mad, and I was
remember
like, shit, we're in trouble.
I don't
Big
even
trouble.
Like, you
Well,
remember
I
the
think
swim,
that might.
though.
There's
was
some
Remember the
truth
swim?
to
Swim in
that.
the wall.
I guess I remember my feet hurt.
Wait, the feet is there's truth to that because that was my biggest memory of God, that hot asphalt.
Well, we would step off, but the shoulders of the lake are like that everywhere, so there's not much grass.
No,
Whenever
well,
we
you're
find
gravel driveways.
it, and the whole, even the road is mostly gravel. 'Cause
Well, why
Crap.
wasn't I pissed?
I think you were.
Well, I don't remember that.
I don't remember you at all in the scenario. I remember how mad Mom was at me, and I remember thinking, shit, we're in trouble. Thank God they're
I think
okay,
there's a
but
lot
we're
you don't remember.
getting
You
it.
don't remember when Jason hung himself on the slide
He
either.
wasn't home.
He was,
Oh, you weren't?
And apparently we never talked about that.
Mom's like, don't tell your dad. Hey, kids,
Oh, I
don't
remember
tell
that a lot.
Dad.
Don't tell Dad.
Do you really?
Sure.
Mom
I
said
think
that
he
to
just
you?
found out last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
I remember
He
you
did.
telling me.
Remember?
He
Mom,
just
he
found out.
just
I think
found
he just
out.
found out last year.
I don't
Jason-
think that's right.
It is,
I
'cause-
think you forgot.
well,
I would
that's
not-
to my
I
Dad
point.
would
beat
not
you?
not tell you.
Remember we were
Who,
playing.
Mom or
No,
us?
you. We were.
No.
You and I were playing on the patio, and we were scooping big things of water out of the pool and flinging it at each other. But you had a glass, and you pick it up, and I remember your little contorted little body, and you're throwing it real hard, and it slipped out of your hand and shattered, and you started to cry, and you go, "Don't tell Dad, don't tell Dad," and I was like, "I won't tell Dad," and we just picked it up, and I was thinking, that's so weird
I don't
that
remember
you
being
would be
afraid
so
of
worried
Dad,
to
no.
tell Dad. But I never told him.
Damn, was I a badass or what?
No, I don't
I
remember.
don't remember ever hitting
No.
him with a belt.
My dad only spanked me one time. When I called Karen
Somebody-
Schroeder
Butthead.
a butthole because she was being mean to Julie. And guess who tells on me that I said butthole?
sure
The
it
girl
was
I was
me.
sticking up for. She runs upstairs and says, Janae said butthole. And so I got spanked that night.
I only got spanked once by
It's always
Dad.
butthole related.
Oh, Mom, remember when you used to give us half moons on our arms?
Oh yeah, I got lots of those. It's
Mom, it's
okay.
okay.
Be mad, and I would. When you're going to Gina's house.
You were so mad at me. Because remember, you had just the weekend before had
We
to
must
pick...
have been brats.
Wait,
man.
you had to pick me up from the Bertonsons at midnight because I was so homesick. I laid by the door, and Patty Ann was like, "What is happening?" And I was like, "I want to go home."
You were the
And
worst.
so Mom and Dad came to get me. So then the next weekend, I wanted to go spend the night at Gina's down the street, and she like grabbed my arm and she goes, "You are not going to call us in the middle of the night." And
No,
yes, that is exactly what
I
happened.
thought you did call. I was mad at you because.
That was because I called you from Patty Ann and Bernard's.
Oh, yeah.
What you got going on, Bob?
He does this all the time.
Boys home.
And he'll lick it.
I can't
Yeah, that clanking sound, that's my dad getting every crumb, morsel, and drop off of his plate. Ugh.
Do you remember hiding under Mom and Dad's sink in the bathroom because you didn't want to go to Jeannie and Dominic's with me and Kelly?
Yes, and I remember crying in that corner in the kitchen when Dad would go to the Crucial every time because I hated that he was
that
leaving.
one.
Yeah, I
did
did.
that
I was very
Brats.
homesick as a kid. It's weird that I was the only one that moved away.
Yeah.
It is.
Right.
You got over that, huh?
I think I kind of knew I wouldn't fit in.
You're going to Lucille,
She's praying the rosary, crying.
crying.
Me?
Remember that?
I remember you telling me about it. I don't remember it, but I believe it because I hated when you left. I would just cry the whole weekend.
It was Palaka.
That was pre our memory, right? I don't
You guys
remember.
might not even
I
be
don't remember
born.
anything about.
Yeah, you were so small.
Yeah.
When the house burnt and you were at the Crucial,
You called and gave me what?
Julie, remember
I
that?
said, you gotta come
We could
home.
see it out of our bedroom window.
I don't remember the actual fire. I remember the big hole in
The
there.
one down right here, the one out in the backyard. Yeah.
Remember that?
Mom, I remember
No.
the
You were too
fire.
little.
I was too little. I remember when their other one burnt down.
But remember after it burnt down, we got an infestation of mice?
Oh God.
Don't you remember when you said, I think it's because they came house burned down. So all of a sudden there were mice in the house.
Yeah, we did have a mice problem here. I had several traps set up in various locations throughout
And
the
we'd
house.
hear them go, oh, it was awful. You'd hear them
Yeah.
snap.
We'd be up
squeak.
here,
Oh,
and all of a sudden you'd hear.
it was horrible.
Where'd you hear that? Where was it? At the drawer? Was it down in the bedroom?
Oh yeah, they were in drawer. It was
You had them in
bad.
the cabinets way in the back.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. But y'all remember when we used to burn trash?
At the lake.
At the lake.
Here.
Here,
No.
we used to.
We had a barrel sitting right about where the.
It was legal.
Yeah, we
I
burned
remember
trash. And I think by the time you guys came along, they nixed that.
I remember doing it at the lake. I loved doing that. That was the best thing ever when we got to set that drum on fire and throw shit in there.
Right at the street.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a stone wall around it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Dad, remember when you would burn flares to let Santa Claus know we'd been good? And the year
No,
that
it was for New Year's Eve.
no, it wasn't. It was for Santa
No,
to
I
know
remember
we were
flares
good.
on
I think it was
Christmas.
just.
Do you
Yes.
remember that, Jason?
Yes, and that year you couldn't get the one lit, and I laid in that orange couch and just bawled because I was like,
I don't remember that.
oh, Santa's not gonna know we're good. Yeah, you put him on the edge of the patio.
I did all kinds of spontaneous things. I never thought about it.
Dad, you were Clark Griswold before Clark Griswold was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I was never a big one for lights on the house.
Well, no,
We never
but
had
just
that.
like traditions and like whose tradition was it? Yours, Mom, that we banged pans?
New Year's
I've-
Day.
Did you get a
Where a lot of
flare?
people have
Did you get
done
a
that.
flare
Yeah.
lit?
We never
Seriously?
did
That's a normal.
Well, remember
I've-
Ruth
I've- a lot
Sonkins
of
didn't
friends
like
growing
it.
up
It's
around
it's a better option
played
than
when we
shooting
were-
your
we were making all that
AR-15
noise.
up in the
All
air.
the
Year's Eve,
pans?
the banging on
No, it
pans.
wasn't. I thought we got up in the morning and did it.
No, we
That's
did
what
it
we
was
did.
at
midnight.
midnight.
Happy New
Midnight,
Year,
yeah.
bang, bang,
Well,
bang.
when I
bang.
was a kid, we got up. Mom, on New Year's Day, we would do it in the morning. We
Did it at
We
night.
went to bed on New Year's Eve.
That
You
was
guys
a,
do it
that
at
was a
night.
grandma fail.
Was that a grandma thing or a grandpa thing?
I don't remember which one, but that's what we did. Went up and down Lexington. Like,
Oh, you walked around.
Oh,
you
we
just
only
did
got
a
to
parade
shoot
up
in the
out of the back
backyard.
door.
Oh, we walked up and down
You
the
did a
hill
parade.
banging
Okay.
pans.
That makes a little more sense
like
than what
that.
we
That's
did.
before I knew you.
We just do it in the backyard.
Yeah, and that's where you brought it to our family.
Huh.
Banging pans. And you to do that.
We never went
You
on the
grew up
road
doing
with it.
that. I never knew
Yeah.
that. I wanted to shoot guns and firecrackers, but she said, no, we're going to bang pans.
Bang pans and light flares. So we did. We go light the flare, Dad. We got to bang pans and then the flare. It was the best thing.
But you don't remember the flare at Christmas? Christmas Eve?
I remember that.
Yeah, we'd get back from like
Made sense.
3
We- we
a.m.
didn't
when we
have
were
a-
back from Grandma's
that's
at
gone out of my
midnight
head.
mass.
I thought it was to let them know to come in the back door since we have a chimney. That's what I thought.
It was-
the
it was a
flare
chimney.
Oh,
was.
that's
Yeah.
cute. That's adorable.
Okay, now
Somebody
it might
passed
be
the cookies. I've
coming
been looking at
back.
these cookies for like an hour.
No telling what I said, Jerry.
There you go,
You're
sir.
probably
It's
right.
probably different every year.
Yeah, I probably, whatever
Leave it
I
out.
could conjure up to tell you, that's what we did.
Well, do you remember the little cardboard fireplace we had?
Oh, yeah.
Set right there. And I remember thinking, and I asked you once, did Santa come through this? And you're like, no, he has to
Something
come
in
through
that
the back
fruitcake.
door. So we don't have a chimney.
Is it Christmas?
Oh, the
Yeah,
fireplace.
like a-
They made like crap
Cardboard
sounds.
fire. I love that. Do you still have that?
It's a Skittle before they were.
Hey, do you still have those letters you wrote Mom in the attic still? Those real seductive letters?
Ew.
God, really?
Stop.
Why is that even a copy?
Because I think that's where the fireplace is.
The old that old fireplace is still around? You didn't pitch that?
I'm sure
I don't
we
think
did.
so. I don't think.
It was just cardboard.
But it had it when you plugged it in, it crackled. It had mechanisms that
Not
moved.
advantages.
No, we used to have it right there.
I got no recollection.
Before
remember-
we had the
Do you remember
stairs.
that year we had a real tree? They weren't even born yet. And Dad was
I
at
do
work,
remember.
and you're like, let's get rid of this tree, girls. And so we had to
Oh,
shove it through the
God.
front door, and the needles just would spray it
They were
everywhere. And they stuck
It was
in
like
that
a-
green carpet. We were picking needles.
It was probably February, right?
Yeah. It was
Probably.
dry. And,
Dried out.
Just like we put the air conditioner in August 10th.
yeah, it's like,
Here we did.
The
Yep.
window air. It's
The
like,
air
we've
with
had
the
enough.
window-
It's too hot, and we
yeah,
got
but finally in August we got
2
to
weeks
put the air
left of heat.
conditioner.
Let's put the window unit in.
It only worked when you only felt it when you were in this room, not when you were sleeping and sweating.
That, Phil and Barbara Rellahan gave us that because we didn't have an air conditioner.
Unbelievable.
We were tougher
How
back
old were
then.
you?
were
got-
so
you
tough.
were-
That was my
We
whole
didn't
life. You
have-
didn't have central air. I moved after I moved out.
Yeah.
Well,
None of
after
us
I
We
had
all
central air.
we were all gone before you got central air.
Oh, before this, but the window unit. How old were you guys?
This
It
was
was our
What
whole
do you mean?
life. That's what
Really?
we did use.
That's all we had. What are you talking about?
We didn't have anything for years.
There was painted yellow like the outside. Those stupid little cage was painted yellow like the outside.
That metal cage was.
Because you
It
left
was
it there
so
all year.
rigged when we.
After
But a
you
lot
were
of
born.
Janae's
That
memories
long.
on the podcast.
3 and a
even,
half.
I have no
That's when he was
recollection of it.
born, Green.
And I kind of remember the offer it up
Conceived
thing
a
a
little
little
sooner
bit.
than that.
Oh, you didn't get offered up?
Oh, sure, but not like
Oh my
that
gosh.
often. No,
It
but,
would-
but when I was in my younger year, that was when you were working more nights and weekends because you'd switch from you'd work here, right?
I was at
But
Metcalf
when I was
South.
growing up, you were working here in Independence, so you'd work nights and then you worked every Saturday.
Yeah.
Offer It Up was not exclusive to your family.
No, I
Right.
know, and I just found that out when recording the podcast. The first time I wrote about it in the blog, Maria Pace Jonas put it on Facebook. She's like, "I heard that my whole life," and I'm like, "No, you didn't." I was thinking,
It was a
and then
Criseo
she,
thing, wasn't
and then
it?
I realized, as Dad said on the when we were recording, he's
I
like,
grew up
"No,
in the
this
orphanage
is
with
this
Dad.
is was a Catholic thing."
Yeah,
People
I
said,
think so, yeah.
"God love us." That's all I gotta say. Every time, you'd be miserable. Offer it up, Nene. It's like,
Like your arms
don't
hanging
wanna
off.
offer
Your
it up.
arms hanging off. Offer it up.
I think my arm's broken. Offer it up.
Oh.
Anybody want any ice cream?
Mom, what kind is it?
Rocky Road.
Rocky
think.
Road.
Man, I haven't had Rocky
You ain't
Road
going
in
to
years.
get
Okay. The nostalgia of Rocky Road is enchanting me.
Hey, what about Tin Roof? Tin Roof is
Tin
the
Roof's
best.
good.
I
Rusted.
couldn't find Tim.
Sorry, I hate that song so much. I hate it.
Michael Mackey would be really upset.
I know. Probably Jeff. Does Jeff Hickman like them?
I use this for eggs.
Hey,
Remember-
did you know Michael? He left in Kansas City. He's not
all
there
right.
anymore.
What's he doing now?
Because their
He's
mouth's
on
got
a
good
bacteria.
bacteria.
He's just in between jobs. It sounded like the pitch was gonna. I thought he said the pitch was gonna hire him, but
Mike McInerney?
no,
Mackey,
Michael
that's
Mackey. Let's talk about some of our traditions.
Drinking.
Where did that come from, Dad?
We three kings
I know,
from
but
Orient High have
That's
traveled
silly
far.
question.
no, but I mean,
It's an epiphany.
no, I
song.
know, but okay, that wasn't a good lead off.
Uh,
Bad,
How did
bad
we start
interview
doing
question.
it? And you got pretty good gifts, if I remember right.
We did.
I don't
You remember that, Jason?
No.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
I don't-
Yeah, some were, they were kind of,
I thought they were like a candy bar or something.
yeah.
No, they weren't.
I thought
They
there
were
were
good?
better gifts
Good.
than that.
Maybe
It'd
St.
usually
Nicholas
be
gifts
if
for
we
candy
didn't, it
bars.
was something we didn't get.
Yeah. When we were younger, it
You
was
know,
something we
that's a
didn't get
great
for
idea
Christmas.
for parents to have that fallback. Like, oh no, my kid really wanted this for Christmas.
Right,
I
they're
didn't
disappointed.
realize
So,
it. Epiphany gift.
but I remember they could be extremely lame too. So,
Extremely
lame, yeah.
Well, the
Like, I
St.
don't
Nicholas
remember what
ones
they
were
were.
kind of
As we
lame.
got older, it's just like, okay, why are we doing this now?
My favorite though was Mint Christmas.
God, almost not my favorite.
I'm being facetious. Remember everything
Everything
in the
was
stocking
mint.
was mint, and even the things that weren't mint tasted
No,
like
only
mint.
one thing
because-
was mint, but everything after mingling with it became mint.
You said something. I don't even know what a
I mean,
Jesse
at
tree
least
is.
in your
You said
head.
something
You don't
about-
remember the
Jesse
Jesse
tree?
The Jesse
I got
tree.
They don't
no
remember
clue what a
it. They
Jesse-
didn't-
What the
Tell
hell's a
them about-
Jesse tree?
Dude.
They didn't
We
do.
lived-
we didn't
we-
do it when they were
We
born.
were raised in a different family.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
you're
It was
two
a
di-
different
two different
families. The
families.
girls and then us.
We were raised
So,
by
Dad, tell
tired,
the story
middle-aged
about-
women and men.
We had
Yeah.
young, fun parents.
Yeah.
Jesse
We had the
tree.
You got
beaten
the
down.
old-
Is
You
that
know
a
the old
Christmas?
farts.
So,
It was a
Dad,
pre-Christmas
tell them what said to you
About
about
the Jesse
Jesse
tree.
tree.
Jared and Jason didn't have
This
a
is
Jesse.
hilarious. We love the Jesse tree. We would actually make ornaments for it.
They were he made it. You guys just don't remember.
Right. I don't remember at all. And I'm-
You were real
You
little.
probably weren't here yet.
Yeah, I know.
Jason, you weren't missing anything. It was a dead tree branch.
I don't.
No, it was
couldn't find
no,
one.
it was a tree that was dead with many branches that we hung felt and
Why?
like construction paper
Ornaments. It was
ornaments
awful.
that Julie and I made.
Suffering.
And it looked-
I don't know. Was
You
it
said
for
what?
suffering?
Yeah, Dad,
Why?
what was the Jesse tree all about?
Okay, go ahead.
The Jesse tree was a tradition that I learned about from the Crucial community because I never remembered that as a child. And I thought, well, we'll start it at our house because it's really the Advent season before Christmas season. And the Advent season is waiting for the Messiah to be born. The Jesse tree was not supposed to be green to show life. It was supposed to be a
Dead.
dead tree with just branches on it, no leaves. And you would hang ornaments that depicted things from the scripture, like Adam and Eve was an apple with a bite out of it.
Or the Star of David, I remember
Or
making.
the tablets for
All
the
the
Old
people
Testament.
who waited.
The
in the
Ten
Old
Commandments.
Testament.
It's totally.
Moses.
I'm
Total
remembering,
stuff, yeah,
remembering
old.
stuff now about that.
There
Yeah,
was
the
a
ornaments were weird.
Yeah, because you were born.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Joseph, the coat of
The
many
coat of-
colors.
Yeah.
We had Joseph had a bunch of colors on
We made
his,
that out of cotton balls one year.
and we had a ladder, the ladder of Jacob.
Yeah. Okay, I remember.
And
Totally remember that.
All those things we hung on the Jesse tree.
No, that's
Came over one morning or after we were sitting there talking, and Michael was, was kind of like looking around, and then I think he was wanting to know how many kids he could get to sell St. Jude candy bars for that
Yeah.
Pimping
coming
us
weekend,
out.
which you remember doing.
Oh yeah.
So he said, as he's getting ready to leave, we find out what we was going to do, and I thought he knew what a Jesse tree was because I thought he's old, he should know about it. And he kind of got his voice down a little bit, looked around, make sure. I said, Gene, he said, There's a Christmas tree lot right there on Golden Road. We can get you a real nice tree.
I know some guys.
Exactly.
Totally.
And I said, Mike, I said, we got a Christmas tree. This is our Jesse tree. This is our Advent tree. And it was completely new to an old man like Michael what the Jesse tree was. And then he realized, oh, okay, he was kind of relieved that we didn't have the money
We weren't
to get
hard
a real
up.
tree.
Well, and here's something I've applied to it in my own mind. It must have been like December 10th, when everybody else would have their trees up, but we didn't get to put ours up until what is the date?
13th of
Uncle
December.
Jimmy's birthday.
So it was probably close enough to Christmas that he started thinking, oh my gosh, these people don't have a tree. Because everybody else in town had their trees up.
You
But
doing okay?
yeah,
Aw.
God love him.
Mom, tell
Still
him
never
about
got
the
a
time.
candy bar, not once.
Yeah, from all of our.
I never got a candy bar. You said he gave you
None
candy
of us
bars.
got. I didn't
Never
get
gave
candy
me
bars.
bar.
I just
He
got
gave me some. Well, I'd
hot
always
chocolate
get the
out of
people that
his.
would pay money and
mug.
tell me to
Oh,
keep the
but
box.
he made you put it back in the box.
No, I'd put that thing in my pocket.
Did he make you put it back in the box?
If you saw,
I never
Oh
got
yeah,
a candy
he'd
bar.
want us to resell it, but no,
you got to be sneakier than this. You guys.
Well, he would get mad at me because I wouldn't approach people. I would just stand there with
It
my
was the
face.
worst thing ever. I didn't want to go talk to people. They're
It
coming out of
did. It was
church.
hideous. And we were freezing to death.
It wasn't that.
Oh, it sucked.
Jason, you
I
must have not
hated
done
it.
it in the winter.
You
when
were
we
all
had to-
enthusiastic.
I
You
did it all
loved
through the
doing it.
winter. I did it all the time.
Did you have
Okay.
to share hot chocolate out of the
Exactly.
thermos?
You were very enthusiastic.
him?
I remember you loved doing it.
Because
I hated it.
people would buy me candy bars.
Well, and
That's
Jason found a
awesome.
dog while he was doing it. I
Oh,
never
yeah.
got that
Well,
lucky.
the dog was, yeah. I had to
It's in the
work for
worst
that.
parishes in town when I
Yeah.
did it.
No, the whole thing was very suspicious. That a homeless-looking old man would just collect children from the neighborhood, drive them around in a Mitsubishi. One day I had to steer the thing down I-70 while he was breaking the boxes in half.
That thing.
Because I was too young to I couldn't break. There was a perforated cardboard box. I couldn't break him over my knee because I was 9.
There were boxes.
And
like
so,
that,
so
and
rather than wait until we get to where we're going, I'm steering down the I-70 while he leans his thing back and is breaking it over the.
I remember that.
Oh
Did you have to
my
change his
God.
fucking oil in his car?
Never change the oil.
You had to change his oil.
Well, I had to take the filter off. He couldn't do that. He'd call me, Jared. Yeah.
He called down here a lot for help.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
come up
He
here
never-
and take my oil filter off?
Listen
He'd
to
give me
Mom.
like 50 cents or
The
something.
insurance store.
Listen to no. Wait,
I'd probably
listen
give you a
to.
when he
fucking
took me to
Bon
the
Pop.
store,
Those
when I
sick
took
ass
you to
Bon
the
Pops.
store.
Yeah,
And
But he always
Got
had a
that
big
bag?
stack of. He was like a
wait.
low level.
Janae thinks
Listen
it's,
to what Mom had to go through. He called her and said, "Joyce, will you take me somewhere?" Mom, tell the story. This is
So
awesome.
we went to some store. It was a long ways from here. Some kind of like grocery store. He has this bag that he got in the car with. You know this story
I
already.
remember. Good.
And he goes in the store and he comes back out carrying the same bag and he throws it in the trash.
And then he leaves.
It
I
was
have
so
no
late.
idea why we did
Did
this.
you ask him what was that?
I didn't ever question.
You were
mine.
Oh,
you were
there's
an
a lot of
accomplice.
How did
I
Mike
think
earn your trust?
He was
What did he do
He
that
was,
was trustworthy?
He was a neighbor.
He was a neighbor.
Period.
Plus, he went to St. Mark.
Oh, he sent make
He was
St.
Catholic.
Mark's.
It was St. Mark's.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what? How
Hey,
are your
Dennis, you've been
children with
not
this
putting the
weird
S on it
man?
lately.
Did you know why Mike sold candy bars for St. Jude?
Well, not really.
I do.
Well, to raise money for the
St.
children. of
Jude.
St. I said the line a million times in my
Yeah.
life. Would you like to buy a candy bar to help the children of St. Jude's Hospital? He
But
sold them to help the children of St. Jude's
Might
Hospital.
not know what motivated him to do that.
No.
No.
His firstborn was born with a heart defect, and he prayed to St. Jude, and the boy has a permanent
He
scar
survived?
from where they had to do open heart surgery on this infant. And Michael said he prayed to St. Jude that his son would live.
I do remember that story now. So was I the only one that went on TV?
Yeah, you went on.
Wizzo.
Did I come with you and then just not then chicken out? Because I kind of remember being backstage at the St.
We
Jude
were, we were all just all stood up. It was, I don't know who the other
You're
people.
on
There was a
TV.
tele-
We just
Jared
laughed.
was on
Yeah,
TV.
it was on the St. Jude telethon. And Mike said, "These are my little angels," and he introduced. He didn't call us out by
You
name.
remember?
There's like at least 8 of us, like 2 rows of 4.
Who else was there?
I
Other
think it
kids
was like-
had to do this besides the Arthurs? I thought
Yeah,
we
it
were
was.
the only
there was
ones.
There was
Bonadons were
Bohannons, Bonadon. It was all Italian kids. We were the only Peckerwoods. Yeah, and
By
I
the
remember
time
we
I
just
was doing it,
laughed.
I was the only
whole
one
time
doing
the,
it.
And you
the
were
screen.
there,
I just
but you
laughed my
didn't
ass
go
off
on?
because once I
I
saw
don't
the
know.
camera light
I have
turn
a
on,
vague memory
like a
of,
big idiot.
of being on. Of
You
being
might
at a
have been
TV
there,
station,
man.
but I don't think I. I
But
think
we
I
didn't
had to
sell
check
candy
it
bars
out.
together that much.
No,
I
I,
I
was by
never
myself
got to
most
be
of
with
the
Janae. I was always alone with him.
Maybe
No.
maybe
Was
that's
there
my
booze in
problem.
there?
Okay,
Like
a lot
someone
of,
schnapps in that
a
thing.
lot of
He's
things are
not
making
less.
sense now.
Would call down and want to borrow my truck.
and your children.
And the truck, not only my children, but the truck was the green truck
Oh, God.
that your mama drove
Almost died.
Jason and Leland to Holy Family.
And John Cardwell. All four of us were in the front of that
Yeah,
thing.
why would you? Did you almost die? I don't know
Leland
the
took up a
story.
half of the front.
Leland was
But
half of
didn't
the
you have to
front.
pop the hood and do something under
that
in
was-
the engine?
That was a Buick.
Oh,
That was a
okay.
Buick.
But
I was
how did you
pregnant
almost
with
die?
Janae. Wasn't I pregnant with Janae when I had to do that?
Well, she got asphyxiated, dumbass.
That
Remember
same
that?
truck.
Highway 13.
Oh, when you mean from my college
Yeah.
graduation?
When
It's
we were
that
driving
truck that he wanted to borrow.
the same truck where Mom was sitting over the exhaust leak.
No, but what
Died.
I was talking about was
I'm
the
hoping
Cardwell
Mom
thing.
hoovered all that up because like it was a ton of us back there.
That's what's
Yeah,
wrong
well-
with her now.
Well, it's what's wrong with all of us. We were all back there.
I don't remember
I knew there was a
feeling
reason
weird.
Were you back there too?
Yes,
Yeah,
Jared,
I
you
was
kept talking
But I
about
knew
your
there was a reason I
legs.
was
You
a
couldn't
smart
feel your
girl.
legs.
You couldn't feel your legs.
Yep.
Bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit. That is exactly.
Were you there?
Mom was yeah, I was in the back.
Okay.
The only people in the front were Dad,
And Grandma,
Grandma,
and
and
Aunt
Mom,
Pat.
and
Who
Aunt
was in the
Pat,
back
yeah.
then? Are you back
Pat
there?
did Pat go?
Aunt Pat was
Yes,
with us. You know?
Julie went home
Julie
with
Kurt
Kurt.
and I
You
went
left
home
with
to
Kurt,
Joe.
yeah.
Nick. That's right.
What's
And the
Grandma
only
Rohan?
reason we had to
What's
ride in
Grandma
there is
Arthur
because you
doing?
guys
We
left
left.
early.
Uh-huh.
I remember being so mad at you guys
It
because
was
you.
not a camping.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was, because Kurt
Somebody's
and I
coming-
left early.
somebody's coming up
Why
with
the
What's
hell?
Mary Arthur doing?
Okay, this
That's
didn't make
Hey,
Jacob.
this is wrong.
Wait,
Why
it's
is Gran-
graduation.
Why would Grandma
Hi,
be in the
Jacob.
camping trip,
No,
right?
it was graduation. It was my college graduation. Julie left early because
Okay, but
Nicholas was sick and
It
they
was
had
still.
to.
you were still-
Hi, Grandma.
What's up, buddy?
You know them.
Hey, you guys hungry? Come in and eat.
Some plates or
Yeah.
something, 'cause
You know Joe.
Scooby! Enough.
He sees them a lot over at Joe and Val. Stop it.
It's okay, Dubes.
Good Lord, what's your collar, man? Give me a
How's it
stole.
going? Hey, Jake. Grandma, I told her to get Miller Lite. She got
Okay,
Miller
here we
Genuine
go.
Draft. Is that okay?
It's okay.
Or there's no.
Michael. Lots of them.
You remember how we'd get so excited when Dad got home and you got fed up with it? And yeah, you were like, "I'm always here." We'd sing a song when Dad got.
Daddy's home. Daddy's home. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. You don't remember like feeling unappreciated? Like, yeah, I felt like shit after
when
that.
you
I
were
never.
glad
I
Daddy
never.
was home.
I'm
Maybe
back-
Apparently
No,
not
it was-
all the time.
I don't know
either.
how old we were, if Jason, who was little or who was what age or whatever. But yeah, I remember it.
Did I do it every
Well, that-
night then?
No, it's just one time you were like,
You probably had a bad
Dad was the
day.
one-
I'm always home. And you get so excited when Dad gets home. Nobody gets excited when I get
I'm
home.
glad
Well,
you.
They
I'm
were
glad
probably
you voiced
fighting.
that.
You guys were probably fighting.
Oh,
They were
it
like,
made
oh,
me sad.
love
Maybe
your
it was
dad.
true. It was like, well, we never sing when Mom gets home.
Oh, I
That
never
sucks.
felt, I don't think I ever felt bad. Maybe I was having a
You
pity
did
party
once.
that day.
Well, maybe. But
Moms never get appreciated for everything they
Right.
do. Ever.
I've told Carrie that story, and she's like, oh, I know exactly how she
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, I can understand
Because I
that.
get to do the fun stuff, and Dad gets, yeah.
But Dad started the singing. It wasn't like
Yes,
we.
he did.
Yeah,
Come in.
he made the song up.
Sing for himself.
Yeah.
Well, but it was inspired out of when we did that. When we were little, we'd run to you and go, Daddy's home, Daddy's home. And then, but then when we got older and didn't do it, you just started walking in and saying it because your little girls weren't doing it
Yeah,
anymore.
that's right.
That's right, Dad. And he would sing that.
Well, so I knew when I needed to go into my bedroom, and it was when he didn't sing that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
leaving.
I'm gonna go hide.
Dad's not in a good mood.
What about the floor and the
geez.
popcorn?
It's
fountain?
gone forever. No, it was the fudge pan.
Just like with Nick.
Or
just
no,
like,
it was
like
popcorn.
father,
Do you
like,
know
But it was in the
Like mother,
it
like
wasn't a
son.
popper.
I've heard it a
was
bunch
an
of times, I
saucer,
think.
a saucer. or a-
Similar to what Nicholas did at
Yeah,
the lake.
yeah. Clarify, because I always think it's popcorn.
Well, I was making it was popcorn. I was making popcorn. It was done, and I needed a bowl. But you know where Mom kept the big bowls was down on the very bottom. So I got down and I was going to get one. So I had to put the hot pot of popcorn I just popped on the ground to get to move the bowls around to get the one I wanted. And the linoleum came up with the pot.
And I screamed bloody murder when I saw it. Which
No.
she does.
Oh,
She
no.
said,
You were so mad at
And
me.
guess who yelled from his bedroom, "Did I do it?"
Jason.
Jason, poor
Story of my life right
He,
there.
he always was blamed for everything.
Mom, did I do it?
Yeah, that's what he said. And then she started laughing. And I was like, yes, I'm not in that much trouble. She's laughing.
Thank you so much for joining us on our trip down memory lane. And as Tevye says, without our traditions, our lives would be as shaky as a fiddler on the roof. Or would they? Though I greatly cherish our family traditions, I also believe tradition just for the sake of tradition can quite possibly create staleness in life, or at best be the unnecessary continuation of something that has actually served its purpose and is now outdated, irrelevant, or just complete. And again, like Tevye, hold tightly to the things that work for you and bring you true joy, and maybe let go of the ones that don't. Life is way too short to keep doing things just because you've always done them. Thank you, everyone. Stay open, keep searching, follow your dreams, and please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Daughter Father Dance on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. See you next time.